Hello, everybody. Groundbag here. I watched a show. You might have heard of it. It's called Hazbin Hotel. I have some buddies with me today. I have my friend Swoop, and this is a special collab with the YouTuber Plausible. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, yeah, his channel's been dead for about 4 years now. It's a very exciting collab for him.
Yeah, and I've been waiting for like 2 of those years for a collab, but it's fine. It finally happened.
Oh, YouTube.
Oh yeah, Swoop technically also makes YouTube videos, so technically it's a double collab. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome. So all of us watch Hazbin Hotel, and I think all of us have some very like differentiating opinions on it. Like I don't know like who wants to go first, or if like we should like give like a brief summary. I'm assuming everyone knows what Hazbin Hotel is by this point.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, basically, quick plot synopsis. Every year in hell, the angels in like heaven like conduct a purge, and Lucifer's daughter Charlie wants the demons to be saved by going to this hotel and redeeming themselves so they can go to heaven instead of getting purged. Pretty much.
Yep. Also, I'll just say this real quick. This is mostly going to be like a podcast type video. So don't expect like any visuals, just three guys giving their unbased opinions. Just sit back, relax, maybe grab a snack, or just listen to us while we play a game, and just you guys let us know in the comments if you agree with us or not. So before actually talking about the show itself, I do want to know like when you guys first watched the pilot and like how excited you were for the show actually coming out.
You want to go first, Sleuth?
Sure. So basically, I first watched the pilot. I want to say like maybe like a month after it like released. It was actually pretty solid. Can't say the same about the show, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Hmm,
Mm, Yeah.
okay. What about you, Possible?
Um, I don't exactly remember when I first watched the pilot. I think it was like a couple weeks after it come out. So I know like a lot of people got into like Hell of a Boss and all the other like extended media for Hazbin Hotel like not long afterward. But at least from my perspective, I just watched the pilot and I liked it, but I had some critiques of it. I thought like for example, like there were a lot of sound effects that were used. It was a bit too much. It was a little overwhelming, but I thought it was a pretty solid like start to an indie project. But I hadn't really thought much about the pilot until I heard about the show coming to Amazon Prime.
Okay. For me, I remember where I was when I first watched it. I saw it back in December. I didn't even like hear about it. I just remember like this was when I used to be a fan of Just a Robot. He made a video on it, and throughout the entire thing he kept on like making jokes about how like literally everyone already heard about it. So I decided to just check it out for myself, and I ended up just absolutely loving it. I loved Hell of a Boss, and it was exciting to watch that, as for its 2 seasons. And then the show came out, and there was a lot of discourse on Twitter, and there still is, but I was still just curious to see what it's like. And my thoughts are incredibly mixed, if I'm being honest.
No, yeah, I think I might be a little interesting among the three of us. I don't know if Sleuth was like particularly into Hell of a Boss and whatnot, but my experience with Hazbin Hotel is mostly just I watched the pilot when it first came out, and I wasn't too big into the show and whatnot, like too big into the fan base. I've definitely like immersed myself more with it as of like this show coming out, and I do have a bit more of a positive opinion on the show compared probably to the two of you guys. But that's been my experience with this fandom mostly.
I did watch Hell of a Boss. I actually liked the first few episodes, but it did get like old quick.
Yeah, I watched Hell of a Boss too. And for both Hazbin Hotel and Hell of a Boss, I pretty much just avoided the fandom entirely. Just sort of watched it and talked with it with my brother. And I really like the lore of Hell of a Boss. That was like the main thing, like keeping me from like staying with it. Because I do feel like Pop has a very interesting like interpretation of hell. I know a lot of people would probably say otherwise, but I'm just interested by the idea of just hell just naturally like forming and just over time with just like sinners and like natives just creating like just their own society. It's not just a giant like pit of fire where people are suffering like 24/7. And I figured that would also be the case for Hazbin. And in a lot of ways that's like still the case. But there's some like other stuff going on with like the angels. And I guess I am glad that they made the shows like for the most part disconnected in terms of the lore. But in other ways it's still kinda weird. But I guess it doesn't really matter too much. Because the most important thing for Hazbin is the characters. And luckily, like after watching like the first few episodes, I I had a mostly like a positive. I can't really think of any characters that I really dislike, other than maybe Vaggy, who I think is just really boring. But I think that's just about it for the main cast.
What do you think, Sleuth? I figure you probably got some opinions. You got the more spicy type takes on Hazbin Hotel.
Um, so so I made a so basically the things I do like about Hazbin Hotel is one Serpentius and his eggs, who's actually kind of funny and silly character. I actually enjoyed him a lot, especially in the pilot because he was voiced by Stamper, who was a really good voice actor. What happened? Well, but the whole voice acting stuff, how it changed, is like I'm probably gonna get to that later. But even then, Serpentius is like really silly, and he's actually kind of like carries the show for me. I also think like I think a few of the jokes in like the show are like actually pretty funny. I can't remember all of them, which is kind of a bad thing because if you can't remember the jokes, then the jokes weren't that good as opposed to like not bad. Like the joke I do remember is when like Serpentius was like, "What's the angel's justice friend again?" Like her name was like a cherry bomb or something.
Yeah, Cherry Bomb.
Oh yeah, when Serpentius was trying to like riz up cherry bomb. Sorry, I said riz up, but you know he was like he was trying to riz up. He was like, "I got you a shot because I got everybody a shot," and he
Mm.
ended up with, "Well, I wanted to fuck you." Because I wanted to fuck everybody, and he just ended up
Uh,
getting railed by everybody.
Bro got into an orgy.
yeah. I know a lot of people
The
really
poor
did not
baby,
like
he
that
deserved it.
scene.
He's too innocent.
I felt so bad for
Uh,
Serpentius. And like I liked him too,
That's
I
but I just can't understand why they made him sound like Scales from Ninjago.
Yeah, that's what happens when you replace Stamper and give it to like Alex Brightman, which Alex Brightman is actually a pretty good voice actor. But my issue is they have like Alex Brightman voice like he's like the new Chris Pratt.
Hmm. I think you cut off there for a little bit, but I think I understand what you're trying to say. But this Play-Doh Season
I mean,
2, we actually will get Chris Pratt in the show. And the funny part is he's just gonna play himself.
Wolf will be played by Chris Pratt. No. When they eventually introduce Jesus, Jesus will be played by Chris Pratt.
I can actually kind of see that. But what about you, Plausible?
uh, all I was going to say was, I think at least like on that note of Serpentius, from what I understand, I think he was supposed to technically be a one-off character, but I think they just decided to make him like a. I think they just went about making him a patron for the hotel because I think a lot of people ended up liking him in the pilot quite a bit. So maybe they just didn't really think much of like what they wanted to do with him, but I don't know. I think he's a pretty funny character.
Yeah,
I think they
I
improved from
the
last
Mad
time.
Genius types. I think that they're really funny for like comedies. Like he reminds me of like Doctor Doofenshmirtz like quite a bit.
yeah, I definitely see that. And I'm really glad they decided to use him more. Because if they didn't, I think that would have made the pilot significantly worse. Because imagine, like, main characters like Nifty and Husk barely getting any screen time versus how much screen time they gave Serpentius in the pilot. It just would have made a lot of sense if he was just a one off character.
I Oh yeah, one I guess like on the note of the characters, I think for the most part my view of them has been pretty positive. I don't think I dislike any of them. I mean, there it seems like they're trying to do something interesting with Vaggie right now. With the whole I guess if you're already watching this video, you probably have seen it, so please don't get upset with any spoilers, but they're doing like the whole Vaggie is was actually an angel and whatnot. So I assume that she's going to be getting some more interesting characterization. But I think Vaggie right now has been probably like the weakest of the group, and to some extent, I hate to say this as well. I think Charlie really needs some more characterization. It feels like she's almost just been dealing with like other characters' problems rather than like getting her own chance to like shine as a character. We got a bit of that within like the fifth episode with Lucifer, but at the same time, it's just I do wish that she's like the main character of the show. It would be nice to learn more about Charlie as a character, but otherwise, I think the cast is pretty good. I don't really have any issues. I like Angel Dust, Husk, Nifty. All of them are like wonderful, especially Alistair.
Yeah, he like I know like I know like a lot of times like I like or I used to like really gush about like Nifty a lot, and I still really like Nifty, but Alistair he is my favorite. I hate to admit it, but like he's just by far the most interesting character.
It, but really, like as well, like a lot of the it seems like a lot of lore has been placed around Alistair too. It feels like that they're really trying to hype him up as if there's like a second season of the show, which I figure, given the amount of attention that's been getting on Amazon Prime Video, from what I read, I think there was like an article that said that it was doing better than like The Boys and Invincible with its streaming numbers. So I think a second season is going to probably happen.
Yeah.
But
No,
if
possible. A season 2 already got promoted or greenlit even before season 1 came out.
Oh
oh
man.
shoot, okay, yeah, I guess you are a bit more in the know when it comes to that kind of stuff than I am. But
Yeah.
Also, hot
but
take. I think Alistair's kind of mid.
Hmm.
really, what
He,
you
he
explain?
was like interesting in like a pilot, I guess, but he kind of just got like he kind of just like fell off. And like that one episode where what's the fat little chubby demon again?
I forget her
Um,
name, but I know you're
Yeah,
talking
sorry, I
about the
forgot
what
her
one
name.
that was friends with Alistair
what
when they were
episode?
alive.
I want to
Uh,
say it was like 5, I
Mimsy?
Oh
think.
yeah, Mimsy. Yeah, that there you go.
Yeah, Mimsy, yeah. The episode with her. When Alistair, like, the thing that fumbled me with Alistair, the thing that I didn't like what they did with, was when they wanted to make, like, Alistair's, like, full power, like, a mystery, and, like, wanted to only, like, tease off what he was capable of doing. But when they decided to fully tease off what he was capable of doing, it wasn't against, like, the TV guy or Valentino or Lucifer or any other demon. It was a bunch of random goons and who was like trying to get into the hotel, and how it was executed was also kind of fumbly because like I was sort of like, oh, I'm gonna show you what happens when you mess with a radio demon.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I get that. I do think the scene where he like kills the loan sharks, it was like a little awkward. And just in general, that episode, it's like I'm very mixed on it. I really liked Alistair's beef with Lucifer, and it definitely surprised me. But I feel like if you just took it at face value, it's kind of weird how he just told Mimsy to leave the hotel, acting like he cares. Because I'm pretty sure he doesn't. There's probably something else going on. But just looking at it as it is now, it just felt a little out of character for him.
I
Might
see.
end up being like
This
a
is
filler
where I
episode.
kind of disagree because this is at least factoring into part of my prediction of what will probably happen if we get a second, if like in that second season. Um, like before that whole loan shark thing happened, Husk confronted Alistair and made the comment about his soul being owned, and that's when we got the like that classic Alistair like radio like glitchy effect on the screen, and that little tidbit that his soul is owned by someone. I think a lot of the fandom's been going wild, and I think it's pretty much it's all but confirmed it's Lilith that probably owns his soul. They've both been gone for like 7 years or something like that. He just suddenly like came back to like Pentagram City and went back to the hotel specifically. Um, so maybe that episode's carried a bit by speculation, but I think the implication is that Alistair is there on some sort of like order from Lilith, and I'm pretty sure it has to be Lilith because Alistair's an overlord, and even amongst the other overlords, like he makes Vox like shit his pants just by like casually being in the city. So it has to be a pretty significant force if they're able to own Alistair's soul.
That might
Yeah,
also explain his like beef with Lucifer.
Yeah, I've seen some people like saying that Alistair has been trying to like either indirectly get influence over Charlie to like get one over on Lilith, or if I remember in the first episode, I know in the pilot he tried making a deal with Charlie, and Charlie's like, "Nope, I'm not doing that." But I think that happened in the first episode as well, and I think she did the exact same thing where she like rejected his deal.
I know they're not gonna do it because he's the main character, but I think it would be cool if Alistair was set up to be the final antagonist.
Yeah,
I think
I think that might be what happens.
either him or I think Mom is going to be the final antagonist. I don't think she's going to appear in this first season. I might be wrong, but I honestly think Lilith is going to be an op that they're going to have to like face at some point.
I agree. I think the season finale will probably like either like heavily hint towards Lilith's like return, or we're going to learn like a big like truth about her. But I can see her being like after what they deal with Adam, because I have a feeling that Adam may or may not die in the season finale. I feel like Lilith will be like the next like main antagonist who just really doesn't want to change like or really doesn't want like like sinners to like be able to like go to heaven. I can imagine she would want to keep as many sinners in the pride ring as possible.
Yeah.
So, well, I guess while we're on the topic of some of the other positive things, like, what do you guys think of the musical numbers? I'm curious because I've heard some mixed thoughts about that.
I hate musicals.
Oh,
Musicals are dumb.
I
Some of the songs were actually okay.
mm, I really like them, or at the very least, most of them. I'm a fan of musicals. I don't watch a lot of them, but whenever I do, I will listen to like the soundtracks like forever. And I feel like most of the songs in Hazbin Hotel do a great job at just progressing the story. And a lot of them like Stayed Gone, like Adam's like song, just have just great instrumentation. They just have a lot of fun with the music, and I just think it's just very great. What about you, Pause?
Uh, I've liked the music. I think that they've been like a good way to like. I think that they've like naturally progressed the story in a way that doesn't feel too ham-fisted. Um, if you ever like look back at my channel, which I know a lot of people from ground probably don't know who I am, but I made a very infamous Lion Guard rant where I went on a bit of a segment where I talked about how much I do not like songs if they just kind of like bring about like really like if they're being used as like a mode for like changing someone's attitude towards something, but it's like very forced. Like I remember like the Lion Guard example that I brought up. It was that Jasiri changed Kion's like entire attitude on hyenas within like 2 minutes of singing. I haven't really felt like any of Hazbin Hotel's songs have done anything like that. For the most part, they will so like for example with the song with like the loser song that Husk and Angel do. Angel had already been talking to um, Husk about like the facade that he was putting on and whatnot. And it felt like them leaning into that song felt a lot more natural than like a lot of other musicals that you'll often find on other shows. So also the songs are, I think most of them are like they're good listens. I don't know if I would go back to like most of them, but my favorite is probably the one between like Alistair and Vox in like the second episode. That's
Yeah.
one has probably my favorite.
One thing I'm very crossed on though is the very like real implication that all of the songs the characters are canonically singing. Because on one hand it's funny, but on the other hand it just creates so many questions.
I think that's the thing with all musicals and like action stuff.
I know like
it
I know most shows have like, or most musicals, like obviously the characters start singing. But even like in the show, like characters react like it's a very like unnatural thing. Like when the loan sharks see Husk and Angel, and it's like, there they are, and they're singing? It's funny, but I don't know how I feel about it.
I think it has been Hotel, at least from what I've been like. Generally, it has a serious story to it where like they want you to like take like the whole plot line of like rehabilitating the centers very seriously. But I think the moments like the songs and whatnot are a bit to be a bit more lighthearted. Like not lighthearted is not the right word for that. I think they're supposed to be a bit more comical and less serious in nature. So like I guess it depends on like the musical piece. Like they all have like impact on the story, but I think it's like a case by case basis where like some of the songs are more impactful than others, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that.
Like Lucifer song, like at the end of the fifth episode with Charlie, that was about them, like getting closer and like Lucifer like supporting Charlie's dream and whatnot, and you didn't really have anyone being like, "What the fuck was that musical?" Like all the characters pretty much gave due respect to that song. Like they were just like in the background, like they nodded off and they let it go off without a hitch. It was a very big emotional moment for both characters, so I think that was a pretty like unambiguously like that's supposed to be like a serious. I think Hazbin Hotel sometimes struggles with like what it wants to convey,
Mm-hmm.
but I think in like the more important moments, it is better with it. But speaking of like Hazbin Hotel having some total inconsistencies, Ground, I know that you have some thoughts about that.
Yeah, like I think me and Sloop both do. Now, has been having tonal issues didn't surprise me because Hell of a Boss suffered from the same thing. One minute you have like a security guard grabbing them and like making a comment about like how they think like the security guard's like sexy or strong, and then literally a second later it's like supposed to be like a dramatic moment. But has been hotels like that, and I think it's both better and worse. It just really depends on the episode. Most of the time, I don't think it's as bad as Hell of a Boss. But episode 4 specifically, I it just really rubs me the wrong way. How like one minute they have like a joke where like Angel's sexually harassing Husk, and then the next like they're trying to treat it like as like a very real thing you gotta take seriously with Angel and Valentino, and then they immediately go back to Angel like flirting with Husk again. So like it just I don't it just rubs me the wrong way, and it's like responsible for like half the controversy that has been gets. So it just feels unnecessary, and I feel like if they just like treated something like that very seriously and didn't like try to make it a joke, it just wouldn't be like that much of a controversial show at all. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, it suffers a lot of what has been a hell of a boss suffers from.
Mm-hmm.
Um, also
Yeah,
suffers from the same curse everything, like curse a lot. Can't go a sentence without cursing. Like half the jokes is just like I'm going to say the F word, fuck, fuck, fuck. Like can you like imagine like Vivzy like writing this, like, so there's gonna be this demon. He's going to say to another demon, "I'm going to fuck you in the asshole with my dick," and the other demon's gonna be like, "Oh, pussy, fuck, fart, shit, ass."
Yeah, its humor is definitely very raunchy, which I mean, I think in some moments definitely does lead to a bit like of confusion on whether or not, like as Ground said, if something's serious. I I think the biggest problem was definitely episode 4, where I saw a lot of people on Twitter that were like very. A lot of them were thinking that the whole angel dust situation was supposed to be like Vibsy Pop trying to like, or like the writers or whatever, trying to like fetishize like SA and whatnot.
That's just
Um,
Twitter. They
yes,
want
but
to have
I do
outrage for
think
the
that
sake of outrage.
I think it does warrant a bit of discussion though, because it surprisingly, like even like I had people like I talked to about Hazbin Hotel, like myself, like in real life, and like a couple of them brought that up, and it's like I don't know if they actually had watched Hazbin Hotel, but it was like something that like filtered out to them, and I was just, like, and it's just like if people who are not even watching the show have been like hearing about that kind of controversy, I do think it is something that is worth discussion. I promise I'm not trying to get Groundback's video like age restricted or anything like that, so I'm gonna try to tread lightly with his permission here.
Mm. Yeah, you don't have to worry about
It
that.
might
Like, according to my YouTube statistics, there's literally only like 1% of people that are like actually like minors that watch my content. So it's mostly adults
All
here.
right, all right,
um
sweet. Those people are not lying. We're in the good.
Yeah, yeah. Lying on the internet, my subscribers wouldn't do that to me.
I didn't Hazbin Hotel have like not yeah Hazbin Hotel. I keep getting it mixed up with Hell the Boss, but why didn't Hazbin Hotel have the same your discretion thing as is like the same as Hell of Boss did at the beginning of each episode?
um, I'm not entirely sure about that. I think that maybe it's like I don't. Okay, so I don't. I think Prime Video has it to where like there are like age restrictions on like who can actually view the content. Like I'm an adult, so like that's not something that I've had to worry about. But like Hell of a Boss, I don't think any like if you like see like clips of the show, like it's not like age restricted. Like if you were to like say I don't know, look at like favorite Luna moments or like Queen Beelzebub, like things like that. You could just like look like a lot of those things up without any sort of like restrictions. So I
Mhm.
think it's like one of those things where Vibsy Pop, whether or not she intended it, this has a huge adolescent fan base, and legally, I think there's just like a bit of a gray area where they need to provide that. Whereas like Prime Video already has those age restriction controls on them, so it's like not as much of an issue. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying.
But I just wanted to go back to like the controversy though. Personally, like whenever I watch, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I watched episode 4, I didn't get the impression that it was trying to be sexualized. Like maybe there was like some tonal inconsistency that came from the episode, but like for the most part, I found it to be pretty like unambiguously like anti SA, because like whenever you like get into like the actual serious parts of the episode, like like Valentino, like whenever he hits Angel Dust, and we see like Valentino like angles like how like Angel Dust views him. Angel Dust, there are low angle shots, like for example, that basically show Valentino in a position of power, and that Angel just isn't really in control of the situation. The like also the entire song about poison, like the Poison song, which yes, it is an inferior version of the one with Cherry Bomb, but it's still a song that talks about how Angel Dust like detaches from reality and whatnot, so like to do his work. So, and you also get other things too, like Angel Dust making like flirtatious advances toward Husk, and then Husk is saying, "You need to stop with that bullshit facade." So, when you have like moments like that, I feel like it's pretty unambiguously saying that Angel Dust line of work is not something to be, and his essay uh, is not meant to be glorified, especially toward the end of the episode where Angel Dust basically tries to get a bunch of mobsters to abuse him without his consent. That's the light way of putting it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And Husk interrupts it and it says, like, what the heck are you doing? Like, this is not the way to solve your problem. I know that's heavy material, but
yeah.
this is a heavy show.
Like it's true that the show definitely like they definitely make it clear that they're definitely against SA. I guess the main thing I've seen is people saying like for those who have actually suffered from it, like having those moments where like they treat it more lightly or even as a joke couldn't just make them very uncomfortable. Which I probably true, but also like I don't know. Like I don't think I actually really don't know how to work this.
See, okay, so I already had these like views formed. Like I'd already been talking about this topic even before what I'm about to bring up. But like there was a video from a guy named Just Stop, which that covered this topic. Which, by the way, if you have any interest in like this whole controversy for whatever reason, go watch that video. It's a pretty good synopsis of it. Of course, after watching this video, like after you're done with it, because Groundback's putting a lot of effort into this, and he's a very great, entertaining content creator. But if you watch the Just Stop video, though, he brings up some of his own, like he talked to SA survivors about this episode in particular, and they brought up that the way that Angel does was like trying to like detach himself from reality as a way of dealing with his trauma was a realistic mechanism. Like it's not the only way to go about dealing with sexual trauma, but it is definitely a way that some survivors go about it. And I saying like that it's Angel just trying to be fetishized, like he I think the general conclusion is that it's a bit disrespectful to act like that you understand sexual assault survivors and like the correct way to cope through it when like there are actual SA survivors being like this is realistic at least from like their experience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's what
probably the best way
Twitter
to put
usually.
it. There's just like everyone's different. Everyone has their own way of, like coping with stuff. So I don't think it's fair to act like how Hazbin Hotel like try treating it as just objectively wrong or harmful. Like I definitely don't think it's harmful. Like worst case scenario, if it truly does make you uncomfortable, like obviously just don't really watch it. But even then, like I've heard people say, it's insensitive to SA survivors, but I personally haven't seen anyone like, or that's actually like gone through anything say anything. Which I'm gonna say is definitely a good thing, but like I don't. Hopefully, like like none of my viewers or any people who
I
watch Hazbin have suffered like or something like that. But
I think a lot
yeah,
of people mean well like when they do that. Like I think that you mean well that you think, but that it's like offensive to SA survivors. But in general, though, it's like it's presuming that you understand the experience better than the people who actually suffered that. Like
yeah,
if there were like a mass backlash of like SA people, survivors like going through this episode and like giving those thoughts, like I think it'd be one thing, but I haven't like seen anything like that. It's mostly just been like people on Twitter or like other platforms like that, just that don't seem to have like the correct interpretation of the episode. I feel bad for saying the correct interpretation, but like it doesn't seem to be in line with what they implied. Is what I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah. I get what you're saying.
I
No,
think it's just a lot of the outrage. I think I have an issue with people in general trying to speak for like victims that they don't represent in general, but that's a different can of worms.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I don't think it
No.
was like really like fetishizing SA, but I think it's just Twitter, Tumblr being outraged for the sake of outrage.
Yeah. Uh, Now that doesn't mean like there aren't like legitimate criticisms for the show though, and I
Yeah.
You've been alluding to it. I think We need to get to it.
Yeah.
You've
there's like a lot.
on this.
Yeah,
There's
like
like so. I already mentioned the rude like where like the constant swearing. Um, let's start with the voice actors getting like completely wiped off the slate queen and starting with like new ones.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on that? Like, go ahead and unload your thoughts. You probably know a bit more about this than I do. Again, like I came back to this show when the whole Amazon Prime announcement came out, and I guess my interest also came during like the whole Verbal Ace thing, and I don't know if we're gonna be talking about that, but uh,
uh,
but
I think the only thing we can really say about Verboice is that it unintentionally got people talking about Hazbin right before the show came out. So it's just more like a beautiful
It was a
accident,
psyop
but it
by
has nothing to do with the
Vivzie to
show
promote
itself.
her show.
it really did. Like I honestly, I had heard about it, but like until like the whole Verbal Ace thing happened, I hadn't realized it had already released. I was like, oh shoot.
It was an ad made by Vivzie.
Yeah, exactly. It was planned. Why do you think like the
Maybe
Charlie
that's why
animation was so
Verbal Ace never
good?
talked about it.
Uh,
So anyways, so on the voice actors being like completely revamped, outside of Husk's new voice actor who is Keith David, I think like all the new voice actors aren't that good, except for Alex Brightman. Because the only two good ones are like Keith David and Alex Brightman. But Alex Brightman doesn't like belong. Like I'm doing Adam, I was like, okay, I kind of recognize this guy. Kind of surprised that they're also doing it from Adam, but then he also voices Sir Pentious, which I'm like, okay, one, why did you have to like remove Stamper? And two, why is like everyone being voiced by Alex Brightman? Apparently, like sorry if I'm like rambling on, but like apparently like Stamper might be going through some personal stuff right now,
hmm.
which in that case replacing him might make more sense. But otherwise, there's no excuse to get rid of Stamper. Um, oh, someone's at the door.
Oh.
They sound pretty angry. But
I
1 second.
I was really upset when I heard that they replaced the voice actors, especially since when I got super into Hazbin, like the first thing I really did was start like following all the different voice actors and the creators. I watched a lot of like the Honeycast, and if you don't know, pause. Before the show came out, Angela's voice actor, Alistair's voice actor, and one of the animators had a podcast where they would work on it. They had a lot of funny moments, and over time, they would invite more and more of the cast to appear during these streams. And pretty much all of those people just got completely shafted in favor of Broadway actors. And I know, like, Viv said that that was always, like, her dream. Like, I know she said she always wanted, like, Angel Dust's voice actor to be that. I forget which one, but it's one of the voice actors for one of the Animaniacs. Which I believe that's what she ended up, like, actually doing. So, like, I get it. Like, it's following your dream, and admittedly, having, like, these, like, big names probably does help Hazbin Hotel's success on Prime, but it still just very rubs me the wrong way. But I don't think the actors are bad outside of Vaggy's VA. I think most of them are good, but, like, obviously, all of them are very experienced. But I've mostly just gotten used to it.
Uh,
My thoughts might be a little different on this. I mean, okay, so again, as someone who's a bit detached from like, I watched the initial pilot. Like, I didn't. This may sound a little bad, but like, I wasn't really attached, super like particularly attached to the voice actors as other people in this fandom might have been. So whenever like I watched the first episode, I hadn't even like thought about that being a thing. Like, I watched the pilot probably like about maybe like 4 years before I had actually like gone to like the Amazon Prime show and started watching it. I hadn't even remembered much about their voice. Like it was a nice indie project at the time for me, but like I didn't get like particularly attached to it. But I do find myself being sympathetic toward the voice actors. I wish that they hadn't been shafted. because I don't think that Hazbin Hotel would have been picked up at all without that initial like success on YouTube as an indie project. But I maybe this is just me. You guys can correct me, but I don't know if it was exclusively a Divsy Pop decision or if it was also like an Amazon decision. I heard some people saying that it was like something like along the lines of Amazon wanted big names behind it as well, and that they wanted to make sure that it would succeed because that's just the common Hollywood tactic: attach a big name behind it, like Chris Pratt or whatever. Make sure that it'll succeed as like so that you can get like the ball rolling that way. I don't know if like that's just people coping with it and trying to like defend Vivzy Pop with something like absolutely false. But if I'm wrong, you can go ahead and let me know. But otherwise, I don't really mind the new voice actors, like the professional ones. They, for the most part, I think they capture the characters about as best as they can, and I don't think like any of them are really. They're different takes. I don't think they're like good or worse than the like better or worse than the original voice actors. I think that they're different takes, but I think that they still work.
Yeah, and I think you might be right. I think I remember hearing about that once, about like maybe it being Amazon. I wouldn't be surprised, but even if that's true, some of the characters that they got replaced, like, I know like some Hell of a Boss voice actors are still being used for Hazbin Hotel as well. Like Swoop said, like I think like Adam and Sir Pinchers are voiced with the same person. And I'm pretty sure like they also voice Vizarali and Hell of a Boss.
Yeah.
And Katie Killjoy, like obviously not a major character, but like she's randomly just voiced by like the person that voices Blitz in Hell of a Boss. So like that makes even less sense to me. Because like even for like someone as small as like Katie, you can't just let like the original VA be there. Because I don't think like Blitz's voice actor is like super famous. I was not on like the level of like like Huska's voice actor or something like that.
Hmm. Again, I might be. There probably was some like aspect of like Vivzy Pop being like enthusiastic to work with like big names since she was working with like a big studio and whatnot, and she would probably like she would have the funds to like secure people like Keith David or like Blake Roman. But I don't know. I guess maybe it's like a mix of the two, where like Vivzy Pop was she was enthusiastic about that prospect, but Amazon probably w- would have been really resistant to using the original VAs.
Yeah, I'm just gonna assume or bet that like if she could, she probably would have kept like a few of them. But for some like Angel Dust, like I think she always had a vision about who she wanted to voice them. So I feel like even if it is mostly like Amazon Prime, I have a feeling she would have done it anyways if she had the choice.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best. I will say, as someone retrospectively looking at this, it is. I did go back to watch the pilot just to make sure I was like refreshed, like on what their performances were like. I think that like it was an indie project, so like there are obviously like a couple issues with it, but I do think the voice performances were solid. Like again, like looking back on it, and it is a bit of a shame that they did get replaced since like they were vital for helping create like the discourse around Hazbin Hotel. So it
Yeah.
is a little sad to go, but I think it's just kind of one of those things where you have to realize that that's just kind of like the state of affairs now. And even though
hmm
like it's really upsetting that that happened, it just kind of happened and it's a bit in the past now.
Yeah, like
Like it's
at
something
least most of them are
you can
like
do
off
anything
doing
about.
better things now.
And I think they made like actually I think they made like a collab song like where they said like a farewell,
Oh yeah,
and I think
they did.
they had been largely. I mean, I think that if they had gotten the opportunity to retake like be recast in those roles, that they would have obviously done it. But from what I understand, they seem like they're like they don't have any beef with Vivzy Pop, and they're just happy that the fandom just cared about them.
Yeah, exactly. And I know, like, once it got revealed that the videos got replaced, most of them on Twitter gave, like, their official statements. But unfortunately, I forget most of them, other than Nifty's voice actor, who did say, she was kind of mad at first, but like she did grow to like accept it, and like she's still on good terms with them.
So yeah, with that in mind, is there anything else that you would like to say, Sleuth? I mean, like this was your topic, so like you
Yeah.
were like interested in bringing up. Like, is there anything that you want to say on the matter? Like, just as like a bit of a closing out.
I said what I said when I brought it up. I think like except for like Keith um voicing Husk, I think like all the new voice actors are just inferior. I can't say for sure why they got rid of them. Like maybe the Amazon thing is true, maybe it's not, but whatever. I just don't like the new. I don't like the how the new actors.
Hmm. Fair enough. Ground. Where do you think we should talk about next?
Um. So I don't know a lot about this. But I know like a lot of people are upset with like the use of like actual like voodoo signs in the show, and
Oh yeah,
I, that's something that I'm actually not too familiar with. So I'm not sure if either of you could like educate me on that.
I think it's just a
Um,
matter of people saying it's like cultural appropriation and whatnot.
Hmm.
Unless you want to
um,
add that, Sleuth.
I would say something, but that's also opening another can of worms. There's a lot of can of worms, like regarding like a lot of the outrage, but I'm not gonna get into that really.
Like,
I I'm not sure if like this is a bit of a hard topic to discuss. Like this is a Hazbin Hotel video. Like I cultural appropriation, like that's a very broad topic, and that's not something that we can solve within this this like podcast format. But at least the way I've seen this, I think that like I don't think there's any. Hmm, it's like a weird like composite of like different like mythologies and whatnot from, and I don't know if people have been saying the voodoo is incorrect. Like I don't know if that matters. Like, you get what I mean, though. Like, it
yeah.
seems like it's not like directly like taking aim at like anything being like any. It's not taking aim at like any like negative aspects. Like, it's like almost like a composite of like different mythologies. Like, it has I don't like for example like the introduction of Lilith. You know, like obviously Lilith was not an actual figure in the Bible, but there was I can't remember the actual circumstances, but there was like a satirical like acrostic poem or whatever made by like some guy impersonating like a Jewish writer, and it was that Lilith was like kind of added as like a mythological figure into like the Jewish or Christian canons where she was first created with Adam as like equals like whenever like the Earth was created, but she basically wanted to be equals. Adam didn't want that, and then like she became a demon and flew off or whatever, and then like they made Eve afterward. Like it's like a bit of a satire or whatever. I think or was intended to be.
Hmm.
Um, so it's like a bit of like a compositing of like a bunch of different like mythologies and whatnot. Like there are some people saying who have been saying like, there's like an obvious like lack of God in this world. Like we haven't really gotten any like real allusions to God. It's just been like the angels, and some people are thinking that God is almost like like an Azathoth or like nomad type being, where like it's not like directly involved with either the angels or the the demons. It's just kind of like like it's asleep and it dreams all of existence into being. So like it seems like it's almost like a bit of like a composite of like different mythologies.
I kind of hope that's what they end up doing because I really hope Hasbin doesn't go like the very boring route in the final like series or final season. It's just like them like going all JRPG and trying to kill God.
I don't know if they'd be able to kill God if they went by the biblically accurate version of that.
I don't even know if they would try to go biblically accurate or not. But I just feel like I can just see that. Like I can just or maybe it's just because there's something like JRPGs or whatnot. But I can see like when God does get revealed, he's either just neutral, which I'm kind of hoping for, or he's just like made to be like the ultimate evil, which would probably be the most like boring thing they can do and the most predictable.
I feel
Yeah.
like I feel like God's going to be some sort of entity either where like he's like a sleeping being, like like he basically like a lot of the whole like hell and heaven division is like the angels interpreting like what they think is God's will, and it's like something like that. Where I think that's probably where they're going to take it, or it's going to be something like, oh, God's like a really nice guy that doesn't want to offend anyone, so someone mentioned this. I can't remember who said this in their video, but like it was like this headcanon that God's like a really nice guy who was like so like he didn't want to like offend any of the angels that were like misappropriating like his teachings. And they basically like went about like even like they weren't doing it correctly, but he's so nice. He doesn't want to like offend any of them.
As
They
long as
equip
like
their
as long as God doesn't look like how they made Saint Peter look, I guess it's fine no matter what.
oh
Oh,
yeah,
oh yeah.
about Saint Peter. I might be like biased because I am like Catholic, but like look at how Saint Peter looked. Like we um like have you like look Saint Peter. I know this is like a ancient like painting made by like Europe, so it might be like whitewashed or something, but I'm not sure. Um, so I'm gonna pull up a picture of Saint Peter, how he usually looks like, what he's usually accepted be like Saint Peter, and then I'm gonna pull up a one picture of what Saint Peter looks like in Hazbin Hotel.
All right.
So basically, posting it in the chat.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Gran. This is the one part where you're gonna have to do editing in the video.
Not a big deal. Like I was kind of considering it anyways. Uh, but yeah, I'm gonna be real. When I saw this, when I watched the episode, I didn't even realize that he was supposed to be someone relevant. I just thought it was sorry. I just thought it was supposed to be just a generic angel. I I was like shocked when I heard he was supposed to be like Saint Peter of all people.
Bro
Yeah,
got a
like
real long grade. He looks like a real estate agent.
Yeah.
um so like when I was like, okay, so this is like a generic angel. And then when the seraph comes down, like Saint Peter would be taking this, I was like, what? That's not Saint Peter. Jesus did not give the keys to the church to this guy.
Why is he blonde?
Yeah, there's also some outrage on Twitter about this because Saint Peter was I'm pretty sure Saint Peter was Jewish, and here it's white. And you know all those jokes about how like since Hitler is nowhere to be found in like hell, it's like what did Vivzy Pop mean by this? But then you see Saint Peter as this blonde haired, blue eyed Aryan, and he's like, so what did Vivzy Pop mean by this?
Oh, that would be a really disturbing but also hilarious plot twist where Hazbin
Yeah,
Hotel
it's
and Hell of a Boss is just an alternate universe where the Nazis won World War II.
Oh my
and the
no.
Nazis were right about how like Jesus and all the apostles were actually like these weird Aryan people,
Hmm.
which they weren't, but
Yeah, like, I'll just say that real quick. Like, I'm really glad that, like, Pop doesn't have any, like, historical characters in, like, Hazbin. I think that would be kind of weird, having, like, Charlie have to redeem, like, literal Nazis. But I also feel like there's probably a good explanation, too. Because, like, for someone like Hitler, like, obviously that guy, he caused a bit of commotion. A lot of people died. But I feel like, even if, like, he had a demon form and, like, he didn't look exactly like his human self, I imagine almost every single historical figure probably does get recognized and probably ends up getting, like, killed by, like, angels or just more likely all of the people that they harmed when they were alive. So I feel like the moment, like, someone like Hitler, like, fell down, like, probably just
No,
immediately he got stormed
more
by the,
realistically, what happened?
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say the moment, like,
More,
Hitler fell down into, like, Pentagram City, he immediately got stormed by the Red Army demons.
Oh, I was
Because
just
on
saying,
camp,
I was gonna say, bro thought that he was gonna establish demon supremacy during one of the exterminations, and he got him and all his Nazis killed. There's your
Mm.
solution right there.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Anyways, I don't like how like they twinkified Saint Peter, but I have an idea. They should twinkify Muhammad and make him voiced by Chris Pratt.
No.
No. We already saw what happened with South
Okay.
Park. South Park has way more balls than Hazbin Hotel ever will. And, like, that almost got the creators killed when they tried to make fun of Muhammad.
Oh yeah, I think like some group in the Middle East actually like sent bomb threats over that.
Yeah, like,
But I'm mostly joking when I say they should like make Muhammad. That was just an edgy joke I just found on Twitter. I'm like, I'm gonna share this when I'm on the podcast.
if Viv ever did make Muhammad, and like, Muhammad actually was voiced by Chris Pratt, at that point, she's not beating the allegations at that point.
You know, one thing. This is like a significantly detoured part of the conversation, but I was just curious. If you guys had to like list your biggest flaw with this show, what do you think it would be?
Hmm.
And am I allowed to say, like, not so much the show itself, but just, like, the creator? Because I do feel like with all, like, the good and bad with the
No,
show, I do feel like the biggest hurdle
that,
is Viv herself.
no, that's a valid thing. I've had people like during that whole like that whole essay thing with like Angel Dust, where it's just like, okay, sure, that is what the episode says, but it's coming from Vivzy Pop, and it's just like, yeah, that's right, Vivzy Pop did make this. And
Like,
it's like I don't know much about Vivzy Pop's controversies. Like I know like a little bit, but I know that she's got an interesting past with employment and whatnot. Let's just say that. But I do think that honestly, she probably is the biggest obstacle for her show succeeding. Oddly enough,
mm-hmm. I don't know a lot of it too. Like, I think, like, she, like, might have made some, like, racist remarks in the past, which makes some things, like, the whole Alistair Voodoo situation worse. And that's, like, something to just really consider. Like, with every single thing we talked about, like you said, just it being made by Busy Pop makes it a lot worse. So, it's not just bad that, like, Alistair uses, like, real voodoo signs, but the fact that, like, Vizzy also, like, makes it, like, really unclear that he's supposed to be, like, black representation, and have the only thing be, like, voodoo, as well as, like, these other characters, just, like, essay, or just, like, have characters, like, say they're supposed to be, like, one race, and then, like, just not have any traits like that. Like, I remember a lot of people being confused when, like, Velvet was supposed to be, like, British, since a lot of people, I think, assumed she was Australian instead, as opposed to some other characters. And Viv herself doesn't, like, make it easier. Like, I remember, like, one of her tweets, like, blowing up, which she was talking about how, like, Instagram threads are better because it doesn't have, and I quote, a 15-year-old of the week, like, blowing up every other day. Like, when you say stuff like that, it just becomes really hard to defend, like, your work, you know? Just, like, digging yourself, like, in a hole and just refusing to budge.
yeah. I think though that there are other people involved in this project and whatnot. Yes, Vivzy Pop ultimately has like control of this project because it's like her work and whatnot. I'd like to think that there are other voices that get filtered through this project, like where the passion is also reflected. And I don't know, maybe I don't know if like what Vivzy Pop is like behind closed doors. I don't know if she's like the most receptive to criticism and whatnot. But I'd like to think that there are probably other voices involved in this project where if there have been some more problematic elements, maybe they've been like filtered out, or I don't know, maybe Amazon has like come down and saying like, look, you've already got a really weird premise for a show and whatnot. It's probably going to be interesting for us to carry this out, but what you want to do here is like that's a no. We cannot have that on our platform, and she
Mm-hmm.
probably had to like abide by that.
Yeah, like, that's the ironic part. I'm pretty sure, like, she doesn't actually have, like, as much control as people think she does. But at this point, I don't even think it matters. It almost feels like the damage has already been done.
I'm not sure what my biggest problem with the show is. Like, you could maybe say it's like I don't really like being associated with those like cultural appropriation like people, but and I might be biased here, but I do feel like and also I know it's like Hazbin Hotel is as canon to like Christianity as same way that MCU Thor is canon to Norse mythology. But I do feel like a lot of the stuff is just basically Reddit atheist retelling of Genesis. And another flaw I found was there's this clip on Twitter, and it's basically where like the little seraph was talking to her mommy seraph. I forget their names, but the little seraph said that the people in hell are innocent, and then it just cuts to a clip of Hitler laughing, saying, "Oh boy, I sure am innocent," and well, it was kind of like funny, but brings up my point of like, what is like Vivzy actually trying to do?
Hmm. I think that's a valid point too. I think that with the whole voodoo thing being present and like there are from what like there aren't there are some weird like it's like a weird like theological like compositing of like a bunch of different religions and whatnot, or like different like aspects of them. For example, I know like in Dante's Inferno there are like 9 rings of hell, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this show there are like 7 of them instead, and they're represented by the 7 sons of pride, like the 7 deadly sins. Um, and that's not how it's like actually done within Dante's Inferno. It seems like it's almost like deriving more from like loose, like loose interpretations of Christianity, or like things
Yeah.
based on Paradise Lost, the Dante's Inferno. I can't remember that one guy, but like again, like the acrostic that was made by him that like had Lilith being like before Eve. Like I, I understand why some Christians would probably take issue with like the way it's being portrayed and whatnot, but I think at the same time it's got like so much like theological compositing that I don't think it's meant to be like a direct riff on Christianity, even if like that's like the main set piece for it, like for
Yeah,
its
I can see
inspiration
that.
sense.
I
Um,
think there's a
I think
chance we might see other mythologies, because especially with the latest episode with Heaven, they almost imply that there's other threats to Heaven than just Hell, and I just can't think about what else could possibly threaten Heaven, you know?
Yeah,
um,
I think there are probably some other mythologies that are present to some extent within the series. I don't. We have to see, but like it'd be interesting for them to explore that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the the loosely pseudo Christian one is the most present, and I think it's going to be the most present, but I'm not sure. Um, and I'm gonna probably say one more gripe I have with this show. After I first, I'm gonna say that the whole Saints actually the misunderstood good guy stuff being like overused. I will give the devil his due, no pun intended. That I do like how they make him actually like kind of depressed, which I guess that's they actually put in some effort with that. But okay, so here's another grab I have of the show. It's probably gonna be the last one I share before I probably like go, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's the character designs. Like
Yeah,
why do the Adam just looks like a demon but like white, and why do like all the demons have like the same exact tuxedo but like it's like different colors?
Yeah. That's that's something that I've
which is
vented
weird
about
because
a lot with my
the main
brother.
cast are like so over designed.
Like why does like I think Vivzy like wanted to change it when they got to heaven, but it, like already looked too late. Like Adam sticks out like a sore thumb among the other angels in heaven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
He
it's
doesn't look like he's like blood's not on the team meme.
like Adam looks like he's supposed to be in hell. Like he looks like he's a demon. Like honestly, Adam looks like he was made to be like a fake priest, that died and went to hell. So he just looks like his design was already bad in episode 1, but seeing him walk around with like just actual angels just makes it even more confusing. It just makes him just like make him a massive eyesore.
Yeah, and he also like curses like he's a demon. He's like he's also like I think they did a good job with like not making the angels curse. I know that took a lot of effort from Vivzy, but uh, Adam like curses like a demon. He looks like a demon. So he feels like they just made a demon and just put him in heaven. And also something about like Adam's outfit, like his big like skirt, makes it like super goofy. You cannot take it seriously.
Yeah, like Convex. I wish he was here, but he was venting about like Adam's like design, how like what he's wearing would even make sense because like why would the first human even have like almost like a priest outfit or something like that? And
Yeah, I feel like
yeah. And I know you're right.
it'd be
Like
kind of fun to split.
I know you're just talking about how like Viv like resisting the urge not to make the angels swear, and that's like one like probably the last like bad thing I'll say. I do think it's a shame that most of the characters swear a lot, because for characters like the angels, Charlie, and especially Alistair, when they don't swear a lot, they really do make it super impactful when they really do. Like I think about how Charlie was like mostly like innocent in the pilot, but then when talking to Al, she's just like they're sketchy as fuck. And unlike every other character, it was just kind of funny because like you don't expect like something like that to come out of her mouth. And with Alistair, like he literally never swore once. So when he told like Lucifer like fuck you, it actually did give a little bit of impact since like you assumed like for the most part he was above it. So it's just a shame if they actually spent more time to like not curse as much. They probably could actually give like swears like actual impact in the show. But that's just my opinion.
No, I think that's a valid critique.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm permitted to unless you want to say something else to that piece, Sloob.
I'm pretty much finished with all I wanted to say on the show. I'll probably like leave now because I need to use the bathroom, and I'm also gonna get ready to leave soon for like to go to a library to play Magic and Warhammer.
All right.
All right, sweet.
Yeah.
Are
I'll
you
just say
guys
like one
almost
thing, and then
finished?
we can wrap this up.
Yeah.
Do you
Oh,
guys
I was
agree
gonna
that this
say
show
one
like
thing
needed
myself.
like way more episodes?
Okay, yes, actually, that was going to tie into what I was going to say. I was going to complain about the pacing of the show. I think that if I'm allowed to rapid fire here, just for a moment, all right?
All right.
Um, I think this show, this is part of a problem with just Amazon in general, or like just TV like seasons being shortened. But like this show being reduced to like 8 episodes, it feels like everything is like, oh my gosh, like like everything is like being fast tracked so much to where it just feels like it doesn't have much impact to it. Like we get so like plot lines will be introduced within like one episode, and then like the plot point like oh this is like a threat, like Adam threatening to expose Vaggie as an like a past exorcist. Just it literally gets like exposed like 10 minutes later. Like it just feels like it doesn't have enough time to sit to have any impact. And it's like it's adversely affecting the show, especially with like I feel like where it was at it's like most jarring was in episode 6, like where it's like they say 5 months have passed, and it's like 5 months. Like this is only the sixth episode. Like how have 5 months already passed?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I know some people like the younger Seraphim, Emily. Like they were saying that they like that she was kind of like the angel version of Charlie, but I don't know. This is actually I brought up that whole Kion thing earlier, like Kion thing earlier, where like he kind of changed his mind with like one song. It almost felt like that she was like that too, where the moment she learned about the extermination thing, like Adam mentioning it, like it felt like she just had like this weird switch where like she automatically was like, oh hell, like heaven is bullshit, and it's like that came so abruptly, like it just felt like it didn't have any real impact to it. So yeah, this is a bit of a long way of me saying I do think that things have been fast tracked so much because like the episode count is so low that it is adversely impacting the story that's being told here.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's just an issue with that song in general. That song had like so much stuff going on in it. You had like reviewing that like the angels do extermination. Uh, Emily joining Charlie's side, revealing that Vaggie's an angel. They just like they were. It was pretty clear they were running out of time for that episode.
Alright, I'm gonna leave now. It was a pleasure talking to you guys.
Yeah, like this is probably a good way to end it. Thank you both of you for joining. We will probably be making another one talking about the season finale, which most likely will come out next week, but it'll just depend on like when like we will have a time to like feast you again.
Maybe.
But thank you for being here.
I
Do you
think
guys
it
have
might
any
be
closing
like this
thoughts?
week on like Thursday or Friday.
All right. Oh, Soup already left.
Anyway, nice talking to you all, YouTube.
Yeah, thank you. And if you like Swoop and Pause, you want them to appear more, you should like comment down if you think their like takes are like good or if they're like stupid bullshit or whatever. But
Yeah, make sure to with a like and subscribe on Ground's video. I'll do the call to action for him.
yeah, thank you, because I never actually do that in my videos anymore. The moment I started making what if videos, I just stopped telling people to subscribe, which is probably a bad idea.
Yeah. All right, but yeah, see you all later, YouTube.
Alright, yeah, thank you all. Comment down what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And until next time, this is Groundback and Plausible, and we look forward to hearing from you.